You ever have that moment where you're staring at your paycheck and you do the math for the millionth time? You look at the 401k contribution, you look at the rent or the mortgage, maybe you look at the cost of a simple carton of eggs that somehow now requires a small loan application, and you just think, how is anyone actually supposed to retire? Like, not retire to a yacht and buy a small island retire. I mean, retire and just not panic. Retire and be able to, I don't know, see a movie on a Tuesday without calculating the compound interest you're losing. You look at the standard advice, right? Save 15% of your income. Invest it in low-cost index funds. Wait 40 years. The end. And on paper, sure, the math works over a long enough timeline. But here's the thing that I think secretly drives us all a little bit insane. That timeline. 40 years? The idea of grinding for 4 decades just to finally hit a financial independence number feels less like a plan and more like a prison sentence. It's this giant, abstract blob in the future that we're supposed to sacrifice every present moment for. And because it feels so far away, our brains, which are wired for immediate gratification, sabotage us. We stop contributing. We raid the Roth IRA for a kitchen renovation. We just say forget it and book the vacation, because if the goal is impossible, why try? But what if the goal wasn't 40 years away? What if the difference between retiring at 65 and retiring at 51 wasn't about earning double the income, starting a risky business, or picking the next hot stock? What if it was hidden in a tiny, almost insultingly small percentage that nobody ever talks about? A percentage so small that when I first truly understood its power, I literally rechecked my spreadsheet 4 times because I thought the formula was broken. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden math of financial independence. If you're someone who feels like the standard path to retirement is a slow, painful crawl, and you're looking for the off-ramp, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Alright, so most of us have been taught to think about retirement through the lens of what I call the 4% rule. It's the golden rule of the FIRE movement, the standard advice from financial advisors. The idea is simple. You save up a big pile of money, typically 25 times your annual expenses, and then in your first year of retirement, you withdraw 4% of that pile. Every year after that, you adjust that dollar amount for inflation. The historical data suggests that if you do this, with a balanced stock and bond portfolio, there's a very high probability you won't run out of money for at least 30 years. This 4% rule is the bedrock of modern retirement planning, and it creates a very specific number you're chasing. If you need $50,000 a year to live, your finish line is $1.25 million. Seems simple, right? Here's what most people don't realize. We spend all our energy obsessing over the last half of that equation, the pile of money and the 4% withdrawal rate. But we completely ignore the first, more powerful half of the equation, the part that happens decades before you ever quit your job. We obsess over the safe withdrawal rate, but we blindly accept a totally arbitrary number for the accumulation rate. We've all, at some point, heard the standard advice to save 10% or 15% of your income for retirement. And look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that saving 15% is bad. It's fantastic. If you're doing that, you're likely in the top tier of savers in the country. The national personal savings rate hovers around 3% to 5% most of the time. So 15% makes you a hero. But being a hero and being done are 2 different things. That 15% savings rate, mathematically, ties you to that 40-year prison sentence I was talking about. Let me show you the ugly math that nobody puts in the glossy 401k brochures. This comes from a very simple, yet profound concept: the relationship between your savings rate and your time to financial independence. This was made famous by a very specific Mr. Money Mustache article years ago, but it's so counterintuitive that it deserves a full breakdown. Let's assume you take home an after-tax income of $65,000. A solid, middle-class American income. If you save 15% of that, you're putting away $9,750 a year. That means you're living on the other 85%, which is $55,250 a year. Now, to be financially independent using the 4% rule, you need a portfolio that is 25 times your annual expenses. So, $55,250 multiplied by 25. That's $1,381,250. Now, here's the math that hits you like a brick. If you start from zero and invest $9,750 a year, earning an average 7% real return after inflation, how long will it take you to reach your goal of nearly $1.4 million? The answer is roughly 39 to 40 years. If you start this process at 25, you're done at 65. That's the standard playbook. You have perfectly executed the textbook American retirement plan. You did nothing wrong, and you spent 40 years trading your life energy for a paycheck. This is the silent agreement we've all signed. Now, you might be thinking, okay, Zach, 40 years is what it is. That's just the price of living in reality. But this is where it gets really interesting. Let's look at what happens if we don't double our savings rate, or even increase it by 50%. Let's just add 3.6%. A tiny, unsexy 3.6 percentage points. Let's move from a 15% savings rate to an 18.6% savings rate. Same $65,000 income. An 18.6% savings rate means you're now saving $12,090 a year. Crucially, your spending has dropped from $55,250 to $52,910. This is the magic that trips everyone up. The power of increasing your savings rate is a double-barreled shotgun. You are simultaneously adding more money to your investments and, more importantly, permanently lowering the amount of money you need to live. You have shrunk your required finish line. You no longer need 25 times $55,250. You now need 25 times $52,910. The target drops from $1,381,250 to $1,322,750. It's a lower bar. Now you're putting $12,090 a year toward that lower target of $1.32 million. Still getting that 7% real return. How long does it take now? The number will make you angry. It's 34 years. By simply saving an additional 3.6% of your income, you have just shaved 6 years of mandatory labor off your life. You didn't get a degree, you didn't get a promotion. You didn't start a side hustle until 2 a.m. every night. You just adjusted a small number on an allocation sheet and bought back 6 years. Now, let's zoom out. Let's look at the truly life-altering math. The gap between the standard 10% saver and someone who finds 20%. The 10% saver, spending 90% of their income, is mathematically committing to a career of about 50 years. For a 20-year-old, that means working until 70. Someone who saves 20%, spending 80% of their income, their time to retirement is about 36 years. The jump from a 10% to a 20% savings rate buys you back 14 years. That's the name of this video. The 3.6% increase from 15% was just the first domino. The cumulative effect of finding those small increments is the difference between meeting your grandkids fresh and energetic at 51 or meeting them as a tired 65-year-old who just clocked out for the last time. Here's the part of this psychological equation that I find genuinely fascinating. And it's the reason more people don't do this. It's not a math problem, it's an identity problem. We have this concept of lifestyle creep that is usually framed as a reward. We get a raise, and our first instinct, often egged on by everyone around us, is to upgrade our apartment, get the new car, treat ourselves because we deserve it. The unspoken, terrifying flip side of this is that when you choose to increase your savings rate, even by a tiny 3.6%, you often feel like you're going backward. You're making a choice that psychologically feels like you're getting poorer, even though your spreadsheet is screaming that you're getting richer faster. There's a brilliant concept from behavioral finance called the hedonic treadmill. You adapt to a higher level of spending almost instantly. The new car smell fades in 3 months, and it's just your car. But the retirement date that was pushed 5 years further away, that's real. To break this, you have to mentally flip the script. You're not cutting back, you're buying time. You're not denying yourself a $100 monthly upgrade, you're purchasing an entire year of your future freedom. One small $3,000 savings increment at a time. Most people can't visualize time. They can only visualize stuff. So they buy the stuff and sell their time. The person who can see the time hidden inside a small percentage is the one who walks away from the game a decade early. So, let's address the elephant in the room. I can hear the comments already. This is just the save more money advice with the new label. I can't save 20%, Zach. I'm barely surviving on 100% of my income. And if that's you, truly, if you are living penny to penny and can't afford a roof and food, this math might feel like a cruel joke. I get it. The math of higher savings rate equals earlier retirement only starts to sing when you have your basic needs met. But here's my pushback to the I can't save anything narrative that I hear from a huge chunk of the middle class, who technically can. Look, according to a 2023 study by Lending Club, something wild like 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. But here's the crazy part of that statistic. It includes a huge number of households earning over $100 a year. High income doesn't solve the math. It just inflates the scale of the problem. The person making $150,000 and saving 0% is just as broke as the person making $30 just with a nicer couch. The issue isn't always income. It's the default settings of our financial lives. So let's reverse engineer this. How do you actually find that 3.6% without feeling like you're taking a vow of poverty? I call this the 3-layered 3.6% audit. The first layer is the money you don't even know is gone. These are the phantom charges, the subscription bleed. A Deloitte study found that the average US consumer has like 5 paid streaming services. We sign up for a free trial, forget it, and it becomes a ghost draining $16.99 a month for 3 years. The average American household spends nearly $400 a year on subscription services they've completely forgotten about. There's a chunk of your 3.6%, not by cutting back, but by just turning off the sink that was quietly draining water into the basement. The second layer is the repeating rabbit hole. This is where the real psychological sabotage happens. Look at 3 months of credit card statements. Not to judge yourself, but to be a forensic accountant of your own life. You will find a pattern. The $9.50 quick salad at Sweetgreen that turns into a $17 lunch with a drink. The $22 in Amazon for a phone charger because you didn't feel like looking for the one you already own. The I'm tired DoorDash order that adds $11 in fees to a $15 burrito. Individually, these are harmless. It's just $15, your brain says. But in aggregate, these individual decisions are the invisible termites eating the frame of your early retirement house. You don't need to stop enjoying food. You just need to disrupt the pattern. Meal prep isn't a financial strategy. It's a rebellion against a $12,000 a year eating out habit that you didn't even realize you had. Finding that leak is finding another 2% or 3% right there. The third and most controversial layer is the big 3 scalpel. I'm not telling you to sell your car and live in a tent. But when it's time to make a structural change, a lease is up, a car dies. The choice you make in that moment has a permanent effect on your required finish line. Housing, transportation, and food. If you have an $800 car payment and you swap it for a paid-off $12,000 Honda Civic, you haven't just saved $9,600 a year. You've lowered your annual spending number by $9,600. Which lowers your retirement target by a staggering $240. This is where you have to look at a $30,000 SUV and see it for what it really is. It's not a $30,000 vehicle. It's the $240,000 in additional investable assets you need to accumulate to sustain that lifestyle forever, plus the years of extra work required to get there. Once you start seeing all consumer choices through this times 25 lens, the illusion of just a slightly nicer house shatters. That slightly nicer house, costing an extra $4,000 a year in taxes and upkeep, is demanding a $100 larger nest egg from you. And that nest egg is built with your time. Now, let's talk about a psychological phenomenon that is the silent killer of the 3.6% rule. The 100% effort myth. When people hear save more, they picture a miserable, Mr. Money Mustache, extreme minimalism, where you're washing Ziploc bags and showering in the rain. That image is so repulsive to most people that they reject it immediately and do absolutely nothing. They let the perfect be the enemy of the good. This is the beauty of the 3.6% number. It's underwhelming. It's almost boring. It's not a 50% savings rate. It's not a radical life overhaul. It's $39 a week on a $65,000 income. It's the most low-friction, low-pain financial adjustment you can possibly make. It's the one less night out per month rule. And the reason I focus on it so intensely is that it creates what I call snowball psychology. When you save that small amount and see your investment account tick up just a little faster, a switch flips. You get a dopamine hit from seeing progress, not from buying things. That small success builds the confidence to find another 1%. And another. You don't jump from 15% to 18.6% because you yelled at yourself. You do it because a tiny change proved it was possible, and you got addicted to watching your years to freedom number drop. Here's what most people don't realize about that boring, bureaucratic change in your 401k contribution percentage. It doesn't just change your balance sheet. It alters your entire relationship with work. When you know, mathematically, that you've already bought back 6 or 7 years of your life, the Sunday scaries start to vanish. Your boss's passive-aggressive email loses its power over your emotional state. You're not trapped anymore. You've seen the math that says you're exiting the game early, and that gives you a bargaining chip in your own mind. You can take a more interesting job for less money. You can negotiate a 4-day work week. You're no longer operating from a place of silent desperation because the timeline is compressed in your favor. So I want to leave you with a story. Imagine 2 friends, Sarah and Mike, both 30 years old. Both making $65,000 after tax. Mike does the right thing. He saves 15% of his income, like every financial article tells him to. He's on the 40-year plan, expecting to retire at 70. Sarah watches this video. She does her 3-layered audit. She kills some ghost subscriptions, starts doing a no-spend Sunday where she eats from her pantry, and when her Nissan lease was up, she bought a reliable used car. Instead of signing a new, more expensive lease, she found not just 3.6%, but managed to bump her savings rate from 15% to 22%. It wasn't painful. It was just intentional. Mike thinks Sarah is a little too frugal. "You can't take it with you," he says, as he revs his new leased BMW Flash forward to their 50 honest birthdays. Sarah hits her number. Her portfolio is generating enough to cover her simple, happy lifestyle. She leaves her engineering job to start a small dog-walking business for fun and extra cash, working on her own terms. Mike, who did everything right by society's definition, still has 19 years of alarm clocks ahead of him. He's got a cooler car, sure, but Sarah has something she can't put a price on. She has control over the one asset she can never earn back, her Tuesday mornings. That's the power of this math. You're not just playing a game of pennies, you're playing a game of years. You're not trading your present for a distant future. You're using small, intelligent decisions now to buy back the future you actually want, far sooner than anyone told you was possible. If you enjoyed thinking about money through this psychological, math-heavy lens, I want to point you to a video right over here where I break down the exact math of why the first $100, is a soul-crushing grind. But everything after that feels like cheating. It's the perfect next step to understanding your accumulation phase. Click that video and I'll see you in the comments. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. Goodbye.